Hey there, Blazer fans. This is Mr. Crawley here with some advice for your final exam preparations, or as I like to call them, really big celebrations of learning. Alright, a few things that you should not do. Now is not the time to start binge watching Netflix shows. Yeah, you can save Dawson's Creek for winter break. Also, stay away from video games. You'll have plenty of time to play those later as well. Don't waste your time playing Minecraft or Legend of Zelda. The other thing you want to do is eat a good breakfast every morning, as well as lunch. It's brain food, people. Get lots and lots of sleep. This will help out immensely. You want to be well rested for your tests. Also, two heads are better than one. Your friend probably knows a lot more than you do, so study with them. Groups are a good idea to help review for the finals. And also, just look. Google Images does not lie. These kids are having fun studying. Also, pay attention to what your teachers say. You have some highly engaging and well-educated people trying to tell you what to study for. Listen to them. They know a lot. Well, most of us do. Last thing you want to do, know your schedule. You don't want to be surprised like this guy. Also, always a good idea to end a video with a meme. Enjoy your celebrations of learning, Blazer fans.
Okay, so for AP Lang, the exam will be modeled after the AP exam, and it shouldn't be something that students study for, truthfully. It should measure them where they are right now, and there's really no cramming for it. The Lang Lit exam for 9th graders, it will be very similar to all the other exams I've done in class. So basically there will be short answer places, you'll be quizzed or tested over sections of the books that we've read, and I'll present passages to you beforehand in the form of a study guide. I'll be giving that out next week, and you should be going back and looking at all the books to remind yourself about characters, themes, big ideas that we talked about, but you will have a study guide for that.
The final exam is an AP Mechanics exam, so it'll be 45 minutes for 35 multiple choice questions and 45 minutes for 3 free response questions, covering all of mechanics. The best way to prepare is to review some of the earlier exams we've done that are using that format, and then continue to review the key concepts and the equation sheet so you feel efficient and fast about deciding what kind of physics to use to attack an individual problem. Unfortunately, it becomes a speed test, personally.
Okay, so my sophomore grade books class, right now the plan is it's an hour-and-a-half test. You show up on that time and you can bring anything that we've read for the semester. So the handbook that I made or the textbook that I made with everyone with all the different readings in it, you can bring that. You can bring any novels that we read, Into the Wild, The Book Thief, The Choice Novel, and then you would need to bring all of your papers, everything from the interpretive questions to any paper that's been handed back to you. And it's a two-part in-class kind of written assignment. It's a reflection on the books that we've read, as well as a piece of writing that you're proud of, a piece of writing that needed work. And so it's really a reflection on the semester, both from literary analysis to writing. And it would take about an hour to 2 hours of preparation, and then you just come in and you write your exam and you can use all your materials.
Great. To prepare for my U.S. History class and my AP World class, our tests will have multiple choice questions and essays for the world history, and identifications and essays for the U.S. history. But prepping should be the same for both, with looking at old tests, looking at old homework assignments and your notes, and using the study guides that I provide to make sure you know what's going to be on the test and what to expect. The format's basically the same as all the other tests that you've taken for me, so it shouldn't be too difficult to prepare. Just more information, so good luck. Thank you.
All right, this message is for my AP Psychology students. You guys know from the chapter on cognition that the best way to study is distributed practice rather than mass practice, which means that you should be doing a little bit of studying every night in the days leading up to the final. The final will be about, half of the final will be about cognition and intelligence, which we haven't had any exam on yet, but the other half will be cumulative. So you should go back and look at Quizlet and review the vocabulary from all of the units that we've learned about so far. You might also look at your exams that you've already taken and do some practice questions. I think that would be a good strategy for you to study for the final.
Astronomy class, the exam is comprehensive, covering the whole semester, It's fundamentally, though, similar to previous tests. So if you have prepared for the previous tests and done well, what you did there will work, with the caveat that reviewing earlier material is important. The last thing is there is some new stuff, but again, the test is short answer mainly, a couple of diagrams to fill out, and reviewing all the previous material, including the previous tests, is the best way to prepare.
For AP Government, it's going to be very similar to our tests, except it's going to be more comprehensive, and it'll be probably about 50 or 60 multiple choice questions followed by one free response. And so just make sure you know the study guide really, really well. You should be comfortable writing about everything on the study guide, and if you are, you should be in good shape. But make sure you study your past tests and study your notes and feel comfortable with the study guide.
The geometry exam will consist of 50 multiple choice questions, 4 proofs, and 10 long response algebra problems. Geometry textbook, there are study guides already provided that they can use for guidance. And in the algebra class, your class, there's also a cumulative test review in the back of every chapter.
All right, so final exam for AP US History. It's going to cover chapters 1 through 17. So, everything from the semester is fair game. In terms of the setup for the exam, it's going to be like a fact test and then a DBQ. So multiple choice questions, answering some short answer questions, and then writing a DBQ essay. In terms of specific prep you should think seriously about the preparation that you've done over the course of this semester. So if you have been preparing well for the unit exams, then basically you should just follow that kind of routine in terms of preparation for the final. If you feel like that hasn't been working very well for you, then check out the material that's posted on Haiku, the review packets for units 1 through 4, get together with other students. Michaela McCasson was doing a review group together. Getting together with other people is always a good idea of checking your understanding and quizzing one another.
One thing you want to think about is that there will likely be a large amount of vocabulary that you're responsible for, and one of the things that you can do is review. And I know that seems kind of obvious, but it's easy to forget the vocab words that you learned maybe 2 or 3 months prior to this final exam that you'll be taking here soon. I would say go over all of your vocab lists, have everything ready to go when you study, like all of it in front of you, whether you took notes on your own or whether you have photocopies or if you made Quizlets, for example. Having everything in front of you will help you out. In terms of verb conjugation, which is of course a big deal, a big part of the exam, what I would say is best is have those endings memorized. Have them memorized, and as soon as you get the final exam, find a little blank spot and write down your endings. So that every time that you are conjugating a verb, you don't have to rethink about what those endings are, you just refer back to where you wrote them down. Another good thing to do is to use your test as a resource. Many times you'll have reading passages and they'll be written either solely in French or solely in Spanish, and you have a very rich source, I guess, of vocabulary words, and that could jog your memory when it comes to maybe like a fill-in-the-blank activity. So I know some of this stuff is just common sense, but I think it will help you out, and I wish you luck.
We're going to cover everything we've done so far this year, so starting with what's the nature of science, to evolution, to cells, to photosynthesis, and cell respiration. We'll touch on everything, but students are responsible for reviewing a lot on their own. They should study actively. They need to say things out loud and write things down.
The AP Euro final exam, it's going to be very similar to our test during the course of the semester, except obviously over all of the chapters, and so it's going to go from the Renaissance all the way up until the Industrial Revolution, and so you should focus your studying on past tests. Make sure that you look through all your past tests. Look at the study guide. Remember, you don't have to know every single part of the study guide inside out, but know as much of it as possible. And then the format of the test is going to be basically a lot of multiple choice questions, probably around 30 to 40, followed by some written responses, some combination of short answer and free response. I'll give you more details in class.